It's curious how, in a world where everything ages too quickly, there's a car that seems to negotiate with time and win. While trends come and go, the Porsche 911 remains there, firm, elegant, almost defying the rules of logic. And perhaps that's the greatest paradox of the luxury industry. The more the 911 remains the same, the more desirable it becomes. How can a design that has barely changed in decades continue to mesmerize billionaires, enthusiasts, and even those who know nothing about cars? The most intriguing point is that this allure isn't just about speed or status, but about something much deeper, almost psychological. If you've ever had that feeling of looking at something and thinking, I can't explain it, but this is perfect, then you've already understood half the mystery. The 911 activates something within us, a kind of emotional memory that transcends time and logic. It's as if the car speaks directly to the human brain, silently, while the world tries to decipher. It's magic. And perhaps the most surprising part is this. The secret lies not only in the impeccable design, but in the philosophy behind it. A philosophy that few people know, and which, when revealed, completely changes how you perceive the value of beauty, classicism, and timelessness. Because there's a reason why the 911 never goes out of style, and that reason says much more about us than about the car. And it's precisely when we understand this truth that everything begins to make sense. The birth of an icon, how the 911 came about almost by accident. It was curious to observe how something so grand could be born almost unintentionally, as happened with the Porsche 911. The team didn't intend to create an eternal icon. In fact, they were just trying to replace an old model without losing the brand's identity. But amidst budget limitations, internal debates, and improvised decisions, they ended up designing a car that spoke to the collective unconscious. It's like when someone tidies their room just a little, and suddenly discovers that the whole house seems more welcoming. Sometimes genius emerges when nobody is trying to appear genius. The designers argued over centimeters, literally. One wanted a longer front, another advocated for smoother curves, and a third insisted the car needed to look like a Porsche, even with eyes closed. It's like adjusting a recipe, a little less sugar, a touch more butter, until something magical happens without you even realizing it. Anyone who works in design knows this well. That moment when you try to solve a simple problem and discover that, unintentionally, you've created something better than you imagined. The 911 was born from this elegant, almost naive, but profoundly intuitive improvisation. What's most fascinating is that nobody there had any idea they were building a visual landmark that would transcend generations. It was meant to be just a functional car, beautiful as much as possible, and that's all. But when something is born with a soul, even without planning, it finds its place in the world. It's like writing a text to help someone without any pretension, and realizing that it changed the lives of thousands. The 911 emerged like that, simple in origin, gigantic in impact, and of course, paving the way for a mystery that would become even greater when we analyze why its silhouette so deeply affects the human brain. The silhouette the world never forgot. Why the 911 design activates something in the human brain. The silhouette of the Porsche 911 has something so familiar about it that it seems to speak directly to the subconscious, almost like an archetypal symbol. The human brain loves repetitive patterns and harmonious proportions, and the 911 delivers this like few other machines ever created. It's no wonder that even those who know nothing about cars recognize the model from a distance. It evokes the same feeling as when we see a perfect sunset. We can't explain it. We just feel it. Some neuroscientists call this the immediate emotional recognition effect, something rare in industrial design. And the 911 does this effortlessly. The rounded curves, the smooth roofline, and the balance between a robust rear and a delicate front create a kind of visual character. People naturally connect with figures that seem to have expression, presence, identity, and the 911 always seems ready for a story. It's like looking at a dog with big eyes. No matter how many breeds there are, you always recognize that trait that makes you smile. In design, this visual empathy is powerful, and that's exactly what keeps the 911 in the collective memory. It's not just a car, it's a figure with personality. If anyone wants to test this effect in practice, just do the following exercise. Ask a child to draw a nice car without showing them any reference. In 90% of cases, they will create a shape that resembles, albeit distantly, the 911. Why? Because the shape respects universal principles of balance, simplicity, and fluidity, things that the brain identifies as correct. Product designers study this obsessively. From logos to luxury packaging, everything tries to replicate this same harmony. And it is precisely here that the real mystery arises. How to evolve a design that was born perfect without breaking that magic. The philosophy of evolving without changing. The secret to design that remains the same, but never gets old. Porsche has adopted an almost paradoxical philosophy, changing everything without it looking like it has changed. It's like that friend who shows up years later and you think, "Wow, you look the same." But when you look closer, you realize that the beard has changed, the haircut has evolved, and even the way of speaking has become more refined. The 911 follows exactly this logic, constant micro-adjustments that only a keen eye notices. This strategy creates a sense of emotional continuity, as if each version were part of the same story. And let's face it, few brands manage to tell such a coherent narrative over 6 decades. An interesting detail is that Porsche makes surgical alterations, a millimeter here, an angle there, a surface redesigned in an almost imperceptible way. This is reminiscent of the work of an artisan who spends hours sculpting a piece of wood just to correct a tiny curve that no one would notice. But in the end, this sum of minutiae generates a gigantic impact. That's how design stays current without losing its soul. For anyone working with any kind of creation, this is a valuable lesson. Consistency and refinement overcome abrupt and dramatic changes. Anyone who wants to apply this principle to their own life can start with the basics. Instead of trying to change everything at once, adjust the details. A daily 10-minute reading habit, a short walk after lunch, small improvements in the work environment. These are the micrometers of routine that generate real transformation over the years. It's curious to realize that the same wisdom that keeps the 911 young also revitalizes people. And this idea makes even more sense when we understand where it all began. An engineering decision that seemed so wrong it almost killed the project, but ended up shaping its genius. Rear-mounted engine, an absurd choice. That turned out to be genius. When the 911 was launched, putting the engine in the rear seemed like one of those ideas that only come after a sleepless night. Many people on the team itself thought the solution impractical, almost irresponsible. After all, it completely altered the car's dynamic behavior. But it's curious how decisions considered absurd become brilliant when someone sees potential where others only see problems. Porsche took the risk, and what sounded like a mistake ended up defining the model's most valuable DNA. Sometimes the improbable is exactly what sets you apart in the world. With the weight concentrated at the rear, the 911 gained absurd traction, especially in short bursts of acceleration, something that drivers quickly learned to turn into an advantage. Of course, it required skill, just as learning to invest in volatile sectors requires study and composure. But, once mastered, the car cornered in a way that no competitor could replicate. This characteristic became a signature, the 911 way. It's like when someone transforms a weakness into a strength. A point that previously seemed like a flaw becomes something that no one else can copy. A simple exercise to apply this philosophy to life would be to look at what you consider a personal disadvantage and ask, how can this become my competitive advantage? Shy people, for example, can develop deep listening skills, something rare and invaluable in leadership. Those who are afraid to put themselves out there can become excellent at planning behind the scenes. The 911's rear engine is a reminder that what seems wrong at first glance can be precisely the competitive advantage that puts you ahead. And it is this mix of boldness and identity that makes the car irresistible to a very specific and extremely powerful audience. The 911 as an object of desire for the ultra-rich, why it conveys power without ostentation. The Porsche 911 has a rare peculiarity in the world of luxury. It communicates power without needing to shout. Unlike supercars that appear like fireworks on wheels, the 911 is almost a whisper, but a whisper that everyone hears. It's the kind of choice that says, I could have anything, but I chose something that has history, purpose, and soul. The ultra-rich love this strategic discretion because it filters out those who truly understand and those who merely flaunt their wealth. The 911 doesn't attract attention through extravagance, but through quiet confidence. This effect is similar to wearing a vintage Patek Philippe watch or carrying a Rimowa aluminum suitcase already marked by travel. People who truly experience luxury know that authenticity is worth far more than immediate shine. The 911 delivers that exact feeling. It doesn't try to impress, it simply is impressive. It's like that professional who doesn't need to talk about their resume. Their presence speaks volumes. This creates an emotional connection with those seeking meaning, not just status. Those who wish to apply this principle in their daily lives can begin by replacing showing too much with understanding better. Instead of buying something to be seen, buy something that makes sense to you, a book that truly transforms you, a piece of clothing that lasts for years, a course that enhances your career. Peculiar wealthy people love the 911 because it delivers this balance between elegance and functionality. And, interestingly, this same energy was decisive when the car began to invade films, series, and cultural moments that made it timeless. The role of the 911 in pop culture, films, celebrities, and moments that immortalized the car. Few cars have managed to infiltrate pop culture as naturally as the Porsche 911. It appears in films, series, music videos, and campaigns not because it's flashy, but because it has presence. It's like that supporting actor who, even without being the protagonist, steals the scene with elegance and personality. In the 80s and 90s, seeing a 911 on screen meant seeing success, independence, and an almost poetic lifestyle. The car's image came to carry more than just speed. It carried a narrative. Celebrities also helped to immortalize the model. Steve McQueen, for example, practically sealed the aura of masculinity and freedom associated with the 911. Jerry Seinfeld transformed the car into part of his own lifestyle, collecting dozens of them. And even characters in modern series use the 911 to express who they are without needing to verbalize anything. It's fascinating how an object can tell so much about a person as their choice of words. In the case of the 911, it became the visual extension of the personalities of the icons who chose it. If anyone wants to see this in practice, just compare. When a character appears driving an exotic supercar, they usually want to show explosive wealth. When they appear with a 911, they want to show depth, intelligence, and self-control. This symbolism is so strong that even those who have never driven one recognize the meaning immediately. And it is precisely because it carries this emotional force that the 911 goes beyond aesthetics. It becomes part of the personal history of whoever drives it, which opens up space for us to understand something even deeper. Porsche doesn't just create cars. It creates experiences that touch the soul. The emotional engineering of Porsche. Why driving a 911 stirs the soul. Driving a Porsche 911 is an experience that begins even before the car moves. The driver closes the door, feels that solid click, and realizes they are entering a world where every detail has been designed to engage their senses. It's not just engineering, it's applied psychology. The pedal responds as if it understands the intention before the movement, and the engine's roar seems to match the internal rhythm of the person at the wheel. There are cars you drive, and there are cars that give something back to you. The 911 belongs to the second type. The feeling behind the wheel is so unique that many owners describe it as having a conversation with the car. It's firm without being rude, fast without being aggressive, sensitive without being fragile. It's a rare balance, like that teacher who teaches firmly but gently, making you evolve without realizing it. This behavior creates a powerful emotional connection because the driver feels they are growing along with the car. Some even compare the experience to learning a musical instrument. At first it's challenging, then it becomes an extension of one's own body. For those who want to apply this concept to life, it's worth observing which experiences create sensations of emotional return. It could be a sport that demands focus, a hobby that makes you lose track of time, or even a professional project that awakens real pride. The more emotionally connected you are to what you do, the greater the growth. The 911 teaches that success comes not only from performance, but from the depth of the experience. And this depth explains why the elite continue to buy the same car for over 60 years, even though they could choose any other. Why do even billionaires continue to buy the same car after 60 years? It's curious to note that, in the world of billionaires, where practically nothing is repeated, the Porsche 911 is one of the rare exceptions. They could change cars as easily as changing clothes, experiment with exotic machines, collect futuristic rarities, but many of them inevitably return to the 911. This is because the car offers something that no amount of money can directly buy: emotional stability. In a world where everything changes too quickly, the 911 acts as an anchor, the silent certainty that some things continue to function the same way. Furthermore, billionaires value products that stand the test of time, and the 911 is practically a case study in longevity. It's like that book you read today and 10 years later still find new lessons. Classics don't age, they deepen. Loyalty to the model comes not only from performance, but from a sense of continuity. With each new generation, they realize that the car has evolved, but hasn't lost its essence. This makes the buyer feel like they are part of a lineage, not just a commercial transaction. Anyone who wants to put this into practice can observe which things in their own life deserve continuity. Worthwhile relationships, routines that are good for them, projects that still have meaning. Not everything needs to be reinvented all the time. Sometimes the secret lies in reinforcing what already works. Billionaires understand this better than anyone. And now comes the big question that divides passionate people, engineers, and enthusiasts. Will this magic survive the electrification that is arriving ever faster? The future of perfect design. Will the electric 911 break the magic? When the topic turns to the future of the Porsche 911, especially in the era of electric motors, even the most confident enthusiasts pause. The big question is simple, yet charged with emotion. Without the characteristic roar, without the vibration of the rear engine, will the 911 still be a 911? It's like imagining your favorite dish prepared without the ingredient that has always given it its identity. Does the essence change, or does it evolve? Porsche knows it's treading on sacred ground and needs to act with the delicacy of someone holding a relic. The truth is, if any brand has a chance of preserving its soul even while changing the heart of the car, that brand is Porsche. They've already proven this with hybrid models, with the Taycan, and even with historical reinterpretations that seemed too risky. The challenge now is to maintain the 911 feeling without losing technological relevance. It's like teaching a child to grow up without losing the sweetness of childhood. It's possible, but it requires wisdom, patience, and purpose. Ultimately, the market is watching with a mixture of fear and hope. Many experts believe that Porsche will be able to create an electric 911 that preserves the timeless silhouette, the precise response, and the feeling that the car understands the driver. Others think that the transition could break some of the magic, because some symbols are inseparable from their origin. But it is precisely this suspense that makes the future so interesting. The open question, the calculated risk, the promise of something that could surprise the world once again. And it is in this climate of fascinating uncertainty that the perfect opportunity arises to begin the reflection that will shape the introduction of this script. Ultimately, the Porsche 911 reminds us that some truly valuable things don't need to change to prove their worth. And perhaps that's the most powerful message for those watching now. What in your life deserves to be refined instead of replaced? What habit, project, or dream did you abandon because it seemed too slow, when in reality it just needed refinement? Sometimes the perfect design isn't in the new. It's in what you finally decide to delve into. And the big question is, are you willing to apply this knowledge? To look at your routine, your work, your relationships, and ask what really matters, and what just takes up space. Porsche took decades to discover its essence, but you can start today. The transformation begins when you choose what you will carry into the future and what you will finally leave behind. Now tell me, what is your 911? What part of your life do you want to continue evolving without losing who you are? If this video made you think, then don't let that reflection die here. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and continue learning with me about luxury, behavior, and the hidden stories that move the world. The next piece of content might be exactly what you need to take the next step.